Hi, fourth graders. We're starting with some recalling prior knowledge of fractions. The first thing we're going to do is talk about some vocabulary. We have numerator and denominator. Numerator is the top number, denominator is the bottom number, and the line in the middle means division. We've seen this when we've talked about probability. Now we're going to label a number line using benchmark fractions, 1/4, 1/2, 3/4. So first thing we want to do is we want to count how many dashes we have. So we don't start here. This is 0. We don't start at 0, but we count all the other dashes. As we can see, we have 12 dashes. That's going to be our denominator. That's how many we have. If we think about probability, that's the total amount. Then if we are at this dash, we know that's 12 out of 12. That's 1, right? If we went all the way over here, that equals that number. Now, we want to fill in where the other ones are. So we can see this would be right in the middle. So this would be 6 out of 12, or 1/2. This would be 3 out of 12, or 1/4. And you can see how these fractions are actually the same, and so they're called equivalent fractions, which we'll get to in a minute. And this is 9 out of 12, or 3/4. All right. Now I want you to look at this number line. This one's a little bit different because from A to I, or all these dashes, we need to go from 0 to 2. So this is not just one whole number, it's actually two whole numbers. So we want to label that. I'm going to get you started by doing 0 over here, and 2 is going to be over here. And so now we want to figure out what's in the middle. So we want to go through, we want to think about if 0 is over there, 2 is over here, 1 is over here. Now, what is that 1? Now you're going to count the dashes from here to here to figure out what your denominator is. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So if we have 4, that would be 4 out of 4. I want you to work on figuring out some of these other fractions. You can see we filled them out, and hopefully this is what you got on your answers. Fourth grader, so you're going to work on labeling this number line with the benchmark fraction. So remember, count how many dashes there are, not starting with the first one, and then figure out where they're going to go. This is my filled out number line, and I hope that yours looks the same. Remember, 2/4 is the same as 1/2. All right, now we're going to talk about equivalent fractions. Equivalent fractions are fractions with different numerators and denominators, but they represent the same amount. If we look at this picture, we can see that, let's say, a pizza is cut into half. So it's 2 pieces, and one of them is shaded, so that's 1/2. Now, it's the same amount of pizza, but now it's cut into 4 pieces. The next one is cut into 6 pieces, and we have 3 of those. And the next one is cut into 8 pieces, and we have 4 of those. How do we find that? The way that we find that is by multiplying. So we take a number, in this case 2, and we multiplied it to get 2/4. So you multiply the numerator, the top number, and the bottom number by 2 to get 2/4. To get 3/6, you would have multiplied 1/2 by 3. And to get 4/8, you would have multiplied 1/2 by 4. I'm going to show you on this bottom one, and then you're going to try these other two. So for the 1/2, I can pick any number I want. So I could pick 5. And what I'm doing is I'm going to multiply 1/2 by both the numerator and denominator by 5. So that becomes 5/10. So 5/10 is an equivalent fraction to 1/2. I want you to try, and you're going to pick any number that you want. It's always easier to probably do a smaller number, and you're going to multiply the numerator and denominator by that same number. Now we're going to talk about simplest form. Simplest form is when we take something that's broken up into a lot of pieces and trying to make those pieces bigger. So it's the same amount, so just like equivalent fractions, that's the same amount, but now instead of breaking them up into smaller pieces, we are kind of combining them into bigger pieces. So it's simpler to see. So, and the way that we do that is by dividing. So here, 8/12, 8, I know that both of them are even numbers, and so 2 can go into both of them. And when I divide 8 by 2, I get 4, and when I divide 12 by 2, I get 6. Now I have 4/6. Now 4/6 is a simpler fraction, but they're still two even numbers. So again, I'm going to divide by 2. So 4 divided by 2 is 2, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. And so there I have my simplest form. So what I'd like you to do on these next two problems is find a number that is a factor of both of those, and you are going to divide. And you want to divide until you can't go any lower. As you can see, I have found the simplest form of these fractions. 2/3 cannot be simplified anymore, and neither can 5/6. I divided 6/9 by 3, and I divided 10/12 by 2. Now we're going to add fractions. When we add fractions, we are adding if the denominators are the same in this case, so 5 and 5, the denominator is going to stay the same. So we're just going to write 5 here, and we're going to add the numerator, so it's 3/5. Okay. Now we want to simplify if possible. Now here are two odd numbers, and there's no common factor between them, so we cannot simplify that one. We're going to try this again. 3 plus 1 is 4, and since our denominators are the same, it just stays the same, 4, 7. So basically we have 7 pieces of a pie. Someone had 3 pieces, someone had 1 piece. We added them together, and now we have 4 pieces out of the 7. Here we have 4 plus 2 is 6, plus 9. So here, there is a common factor. I'd like you to find the simplest form of 6/9, and you are going to then solve the subtraction problems. It's the same idea. The denominator doesn't change, and we're simply subtracting. Here are the answers, and we could simplify some of the problems. So now we're going to compare fractions. So when you have the same numerators, you're going to look at the denominator. The denominator that is smaller means that there's less pieces. So 7/8 is bigger than 7/16 because we have 7 pieces out of 8, and at 7/16 we have 7 pieces out of 16. Now we're going to look at another strategy for figuring out what is bigger. We're going to use thinking about halves. So 1/2 we know is 1/2. So we want to compare 3/7. So we want to think about what's half of 3/7, or what's half of 7. Half of 7 is 3 1/2. So 3 is less than 3 1/2, which would mean that it is less than half. So I know 1/2 is bigger. So using the half benchmark is a great way to find that answer. Now the next one is which fraction is less. So we want to, I'm going to simplify 4/6 to 2/3 by dividing by 2. So I have 2/3 and I have 3/8. So now I'm going to use my half again. I'm going to use my half benchmark again. I know that half of 3 is 1 1/2. Half of 8 is 4. So this is more than half. This is less than half. So 3/8 is less. Okay, now we're going to look at kind of parts of a whole. So there are 12 flowers. They are divided into 3 equal groups. What is 2/3 of 12? So we have 4 flowers in each group, so we have 3. That's our denominator right here, 1, 2, 3. And we have 12 broken up evenly. So I am interested in 2 of those groups. So I know that I have 4 flowers plus 4 flowers is 8 flowers. I want you to try that with these peppers. What is 1/4 of 12? So you're going to look at one of those circles. See that there's 3 peppers in one of those circles. So, and we can also use bar modeling to help us with that. So each of these would have 3, and we are only interested in one of those 3, which is right there. I want you to solve this one. So there's 2/3 of 21. You can use the pictures, you can use the bar model to help you. The numerator tells us how many circles we're interested in, and the denominator tells us how many circles there are. So the answer is 14.